You've seen us read bad creepypastas. You tell them it was me. It was me. Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids. You've seen us read terrible creepypastas. Sir? But what if we actually decide to read something good for once? Or so we think. In this video, I decided to go old school once again and read some classic creepypastas to see if they aged well. Today's subject was the Russian sleep experiment, a creepypasta that spawned one of the most popular images in internet horror. This was streamed live on my Twitch, where I'll be returning on the 27th of January. If you would like me to read more classic creepypastas, leave a like on the video and comment down below what creepypastas you'd like me to make fun of. At the end of this video, there'll be a card taking you to another video for your viewing enjoyment. Subscribe to the channel with notifications on to not miss an upload, and enjoy the video. I have a lesson for you guys today, and the lesson is on spooky spaghettis, mortifying macaroni. I can't remember the other ones, but I do have someone with me that is going to be assisting me in this journey for this lesson, and he's right here. Say hi.
Hello, we're looking at some freaky fushili.
As an explanation as to why we're reading this now, basically what occurred was earlier this week, or was it last week? I uploaded a video on a game called The Insomnis Experiment, which was based on this creepypasta, and I asked for 2,410 likes and I would read the Russian sleep experiment. And you guys kind of got way over that. So as promised, I'm actually adhering to a promise for once in my life. We're actually going to read the Russian sleep experiment. And the thing is, I do remember this being good.
It was on the higher end of the creepypastas of the early 2010s.
I do remember the most iconic thing about the Russian sleep experiments is probably the image that's associated with it, which I'm gonna make the editor put on the screen right now. And I only just realized, like very recently, that that image is just a Halloween decoration, and they had like a picture of it in color. Let's go and read the Russian sleep experiment. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. Like I said before, League of Legends. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. Wait, hang on, when was CCTV invented?
CCTV, that was invented by Walter Brooke actually in 1942.
So,
okay, no, wait. It wasn't until 7 years later in 1949 that CCTV became available commercially.
Hang on a second. This is the late 1940s, so that must be around that time. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep in, but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II.
Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained of having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted they continued to talk increasingly traumatic incidents in their past, and the general tone of their conversations took a darker aspect after the 4-day
Wait, but before you continue, I do find it funny that this is basically, everyone in the chat saying, yeah, they were Germans. This is basically what streamers do. They don't sleep, and then they start trauma dumping about 7 days into not sleeping and working on streams.
This is just the genesis of Fish Tank Live.
Oh my God! Some hide was behind it the whole time!
After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphone and the one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivities with them.
I was gonna say, the fact that they stopped talking to each other and they start just whispering into the microphones, they became ASMR streamers. Imagine one guy having that idea during the experiment and they were like, hey, You know, it'd be really good if we became ASMR streamers. Let's start whispering into the microphones.
Going through this creepypasta, you can point out each level of streamer the further you go on.
Yeah.
You have the poor innocent baby, the ASMR paranoid streamers, and finally, XQC.
After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. What? For 3 hours straight? At what point do you I get tired of screaming after just 5 seconds.
Well, true, but remember, they're also being pumped with spooky dooky gas.
But
so
we can't just explain it away with, it's just gas.
Well, judging by the end of it, I think the gas might have made him do it.
He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphone. How do you whisper to the microphones while someone's screaming in the background? All you hear is just, ah! Ah! And like, pss, 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 pss. Ah! They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The two non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and
they got them
pasted
dookie
them
out.
calmly over the glass. What do you mean pasted them calmly? That's nasty. Like, imagine you just like, all right, the ones that aren't screaming, they're like, pss, 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 pss. All right, guys, we got to do this.
They're giving you like the Riz stare, you know, giving you like the fuck me eyes as they shit on a piece of paper and smack it on the window.
Without breaking eye contact, like you're looking through the glass. I can imagine like a horror movie having that as like a jump scare where they're looking through the glass and they see people screaming and all of a sudden it's really quiet and then there's just shit on the glass.
Just like
a doom. Ah! The two non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own shit, and pasted them calmly over the glass porthole. The screaming promptly stopped. I can imagine them being so mortified that they saw them like shit and put them over the portholes that they just stopped screaming and they were just like, whoa, what the fuck?
Damn, bro, that's crazy. After 3 days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it was impossible that no sound could be coming from the 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercising. I can't read, remember?
You know what? It's fine. Neither can I.
On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives. They were afraid were either dead or vegetables.
MK Ultra!
They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom."
To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice response. "We no longer want to be freed." Oh my god, holy shit, who said that? Wow, fucking hell.
Hello?
Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day.
I guess you could say that's a mass debate.
I should send you out of the class for that one.
The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones and to turn the gas back on.
It's basically the end of a subathon, where it is like, keep going! Keep gifting subs! No! No!
The chamber was opened and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 test subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state that any of them in life. I realize that's
a weird way of saying it, but I get what they're saying.
The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chest stuffed into the drain at the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving, in quotes, test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted.
God damn. See, that's the thing about old creepypastas, is that they all just get into like gore territory really, really quickly. But at least this one actually has like a description other than, and the blood was like so hyper-realistic, dude.
Well, I think what this does better than so many other ones is that it's not explaining the violence in a way where it's like, oh, the killer got on top of him and just started freaking stabbing him repeatedly.
And stabbing repeatedly while laughing maniacally.
The horror comes, I think, from how they got to the point that they did this.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get to the point where they were literally digging into their skin so much they turned into claws and they just fucking pulled their own skin off? That's fucking creepy.
The abdominal organs below the ribcage of all 4 test subjects had been removed. While the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place, the skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the ribcage. They're dead. They're very dead.
Crystal meth does that to people.
Not even once. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they'd ripped off and eaten over the course of days.
I guess you could call them some hungry hippos.
Shut the fuck up. No, but why would they eat themselves?
Well,
The Russians are right there. They had some good scran over there. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. ...
To everyone's surprise, the test subject put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out.
Huh?
Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the test subject's teeth.
Wait, he bit his balls off! He bit his balls off!
I guess you can really say that soldier had no balls.
Bro, imagine having your balls bitten off!
I mean, a little too kinky for my taste. But another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives if you count the ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident.
Wow.
In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of morphine derivative, but still fought like a cornered animal, breaking ribs and one of the arms of the doctors. When heart was seen to beat for 2 full minutes.
What is that English right there? Is it when the heart was seen to beat? Okay, there we go.
When the heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out to the point there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the words "more" over and over, weaker and weaker until he fell silent.
The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility, the 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic gas. He was pissed. He was angry. Fucking hell. He was like, no, I'm not taking it. No, I'm not taking it. He fought furiously against his restraint when the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even through the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist as well. Oh my God. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. He just died. He just died. In the autopsy of the test subject that died in the operating table, it was found that his blood had triple the normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in a struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them.
The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. With his vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery. He only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested, reluctantly, they try the surgery without anesthetic, and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should not be medically possible for the patient to still be alive.
And yet,
one terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers.
oh, that's not good.
When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeons and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting.
That was what led to the jump scare in the Insomnius experiment, and now it just makes me really, really annoyed that I didn't do any of like this kind of stuff.
Because I mean, it's simple, it's kind of obvious, but that's like, I don't know, that gave me a little bit of chill right there.
They read it, it's like, what did he say? He said keep cutting. Okay. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Whoa, 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 whoa. Imagine just doing the surgery and the patients are laughing at you.
Look, everybody, point and laugh at this loser.
Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking, why did you injure yourselves? Are you stupid? Why did you rip out your own gut? And why do you want the gas again? Are you stupid? Only one response was given. I must remain awake.
All 3 subjects' restraints were reinforced and they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them.
Kill them.
The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects.
There we go.
The commanding officer, an ex-KGB, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled.
We're making super soldiers here. It's basically like case animatronics without the animatronics part.
Truly. Instead of cool, funny toys, there are people who rip their own guts out.
And shat and bit someone's...
In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going to be back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all 3 were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bonds with all his might. First left, then right, then left again, for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off the pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired to the EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brainwaves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined unexpectedly. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on the paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the same moment his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped.
Experimenting in my sleep so much they thought I was Russian. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. Its brain waves showed the same flat lines as one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. I won't be locked in here with these things! Not with you! He screamed at the man strapped to the table. What are you? know? He demanded. I must know! The subject smiled.
Have you forgotten so easily? The subject asked. We are you.
I'm him.
We are the madness. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to be like creepy with it. It's like, I'm him. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go into that octaval heaven where you cannot tread. The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out. So nearly free.
This dialogue isn't in Russian. This sucks. It was good, but I'm not too sure about that last statement. The ending, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about that. I get it, but like, I don't know. That was the Russian sleep experiment. You know what? I'm happy that we got one that's arguably pretty good.
It's decent. There's obviously a lot to criticize, I think, but compared to so many other creepypastas of the era, it's pretty solid, quite frankly.
I think what I really enjoyed about it is just the fact that it's a document on what happened. It's not like I did this and then I did that and then I was put into the glass and I started to be crazy, then they did that. That's the one thing I do appreciate, that it's a document of an event that happened instead of a story that one person is telling. But yeah, so if you want to read the Russian sleep experiment yourself, I will leave a link in the description. If you have any creepypastas you want us to read, also leave a comment down below. But for those of you guys who are watching on the second channel, thank you guys so much for watching this. Class dismissed!